Did you know that there are 27 major AC and heating brands available in the United States? Which can be a head scratcher, and with so many brands, which ones are the best? Out of all those brands, there are 6 that stand out. In this video, we're going to be looking into these 6 brands, along with at the end, I'm going to rank my top picks. Hi, this is Kenneth with Atlas AC, and at any point during this video, if you find it to be helpful, please hit the like button, and that will really help me out with the YouTube algorithms. To start off with, let's take a look at this graphic here. So in this graphic here, we can see that there are 27 brands altogether scattered throughout it. However, we can also see that there are 6 major manufacturers that build these brands. For example, we can see that Carrier Global builds Carrier, Bryant, 6 brands within the ICP suite, and Payne. So that's essentially one manufacturer building 9 different brands. As a side note, I have made another video covering each manufacturer, the brands that they make, along with which tiers each brand falls into. So you might want to watch that video next. Now, if you have seen that video, you might want to skip to minute 3 because some of this is going to be a little repetitive. And quick disclaimer, I am a contractor in Texas and not a manufacturer, so this might be a little oversimplified. However, this is the way I see things. We also sell Carrier and some Goodman. However, I'm going to try to keep this video as unbiased as possible. Now that that's out of the way, let's get back to our brands list. You can see in this first section here, we have our premier brands, and then after that, we have our mid-tier brands, and then after that, we have our builder's grade / budget-friendly brands. So the first question we need to answer is, what makes a premier brand a premier brand? A lot of times the premier brand names are directly associated with the parent company or manufacturer. For example, if we go down the list here, we can see Carrier, Trane, Daikin, Lennox, Rheem, and lastly we have York, which that brand name is not directly connected to the parent company's name. It's fairly common for manufacturers to do this to help promote their leading technologies and the quality of their products. They'll also have other brands that are focused on being more budget friendly. That doesn't emphasize as much on the latest technology or quality to help get the price down. And many of the brands in the lower 2 tiers are actually a generation or 2 behind in design and technology over the premier line. They simply do this to capture as much of the market as possible without hurting the premier brand name. And some manufacturers will prioritize the actual manufacturing of a premier brand. So if there's any issues or problems in the supply chains, a lot of times they're going to feed their core brand first, and then whatever's left over, it's going to trickle down from there. They'll also protect their brand by being more picky on who can distribute their product and which contractors can even purchase it to install. This also helps for the end user to have the best experience possible. Now let's take a look at the top 6 brands. So let's start off with consolidating a couple of these brands together to make things a little bit more simple. So for example, Carrier and Bryant are arguably the same product. So if I say Carrier, that's also interchangeable with Bryant. This is also true with Trane and American Standard, Rheem and Rude, York, Coleman, and Luxair. You have probably guessed it by now, but the 6 flagship brands that we're going to be looking at is Carrier, Trane, Daikin, Lennox, Rheem, and York. I know I have Rheem and York listed as mid-tier product lines. However, I wanted to include all flagship brands for each manufacturer. Okay, let's start breaking down these brands, and we'll start off by looking at the focus or the philosophy of the brand, along with the efficiency, upfront cost, repair cost, and warranty. What's going to be the most revealing is the focus or philosophy of the brand. Everything else needs to be taken with a grain of salt because there's a lot of different variables at play here. The variables that I'm talking about is each manufacturer actually produces multiple product lines within that brand. So if we use Carrier for an example, you can see that they make a basic single stage system. Then they have the Performance series that does a little bit more, and they also include a 2-stage. They also offer a crossover or a side discharge system that is variable speed. And then they have their communicating systems that slices and dices and does all the crazy fancy stuff. And inside each one of these product lines, they have different specifications, performance, and quality. So please keep in mind that this chart does not tell the full story. Please note that we are using the new SEER 2 standards on this chart, and we're not using the old SEER rating. So if you double check the SEER ratings on this list, you might find that some manufacturers are displaying a higher SEER rating, and that is based off of the old SEER rating standards. The new SEER rating standards are going to display a little bit lower though. And another thing to note, in this list, this is the highest SEER rating that they have on a certain system. So the SEER ratings displayed on this chart is largely representing a 2 or a 3 ton system. Once you move to a larger system, like a 4 or 5 ton, then the SEER rating is going to start to drop. Now, when it comes to pricing, it's still like the wild, wild west. Contractors can charge whatever they think they can get away with, so the price indicators in this chart are based off of distributor pricing to me in a $1 million price bracket. And if you're interested in a particular brand, but you're looking for a longer warranty, there is a workaround. There are extended parts and labor warranties available that you can purchase at the time of the install that can cover up to 12 years. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at Lennox. Lennox to me has always tried to position itself as the luxury brand of HVAC. Because of this, they focus a little bit more on higher SEER and communicating systems. You can see that they offer the most energy efficient systems on the market. Some of their upper end systems are able to deliver a staggering 25.8 SEER 2. However, just like anything to do with luxury, you're going to pay for it. The upfront cost is going to be higher. The cost to keep it going is also going to be higher as well. They also offer a 10 years parts warranty once the equipment is registered with them. Now let's jump over to Trane. Trane has always tried to position itself as one of the most reliable brands available on the market. It's even in their slogan, "It's hard to stop a Trane." However, over the last decade, they have slowly been reducing the quality of their product by using cheaper compressors, no longer including hard start kits at the factory, and so on. And to be fair, they are still producing good quality products, and things like the compressors that they're using are essentially the same thing that everybody else in this list is using. The big gripe for contractors is their quality standards did go down, however they kept their prices high, both in upfront cost and repair cost. And when it comes to efficiency, some of their upper end systems are able to deliver a very respectable 21.5 SEER 2. For their warranty, once the equipment is registered, they're going to give you 10 years for parts, and for upper end systems, they will offer up to 12 years on the compressor. Now let's take a look at Carrier. Carrier is largely known for their quality and innovation, and they play a very big role in setting the pace for the rest of the industry. Willis Carrier first invented air conditioning back in 1902, and Carrier has continually tried to keep that legacy alive through continuous innovation. For some of their upper end systems, they're able to achieve an efficiency of 24 SEER 2. The upfront cost on a Carrier system is not going to be the cheapest or the most expensive, and that is also true for repair costs. They also offer a standard 10 years parts warranty on all the products that they offer once the equipment is registered. Daikin is one of the largest HVAC manufacturers in the world. And this shocks a lot of people because the Daikin line is not all that well known. However, their budget-friendly Goodman line is a lot more recognized nationally. I will say in this list, Daikin is the most underrated brand. Daikin is largely focused on the inverteration of everything. Inverteration? I'm pretty sure that's not a real word. They're also setting high goals to push heat pumps as well, which makes a lot of sense because government mandates are continually being put on manufacturers to increase the minimum SEER rating of HVAC systems. They're also pushing for the electrification of everything, so they are incentivizing heat pumps. And simply put, it's just a lot easier to swim downstream. In the last few years, they have putting more and more emphasis on their side discharge units, which are a variable speed heat pump. So they're killing two birds with one stone. These units are cheaper than a traditional variable speed system. This has opened up a whole new market segment that has allowed customers who recently were unwilling to spend that much money or could not afford a variable speed system can now at least entertain it. Now that being said, all these brands do offer side discharge systems and all of them are pretty good. However, I do see Daikin pushing theirs really hard right now. In the future, I'll do another video specifically on side discharge units because there's a lot to unpack there, and this video simply can't do it justice. On some of Daikin's high-end systems, they were able to achieve an efficiency of 20 SEER 2. The upfront cost is going to be a tad bit cheaper than a Carrier system, and the repair cost is also going to be a little cheaper too. And the reason why I think they have the longest parts warranty on this list is because they need something to stick out because they are a lesser-known brand. Sorry, York, nobody can see your warranty. Next up we have Rheem, and they put a huge focus on the design and engineering of their equipment for contractors. So when they design new products, they're really asking the question of, how do I make this easy as possible to install, service, and repair? We see a lot of these systems on more rural homes, which makes sense when there's fewer supply houses and the drive times are real far. You're going to want something that's easy to service and repair. With their contractor-first approach, they've been able to create a pretty big following. They have a few units that are able to deliver an efficiency of 20.5 SEER 2, and the upfront costs and repairs are going to be similar to Daikin's pricing. They offer 10-year parts warranty once the equipment is registered. They also have a conditional replacement warranty program for some of their upper-end systems. And lastly, I have York, and it appears to me that their primary focus revolves around commercial and facility management groups. York is one of the oldest brands on this list and is well established. When it comes to residential equipment, at least in our service area, York does not have a very big footprint. And to clarify, out of the thousands of units that we service every single year, maybe 1% is York. However, when it comes to commercial equipment, that's a different story. We see York's commercial package units all the time. They're also well known for their large chiller systems, especially whenever you get over 200 tons. They're widely considered by most as being the best. York is owned by Johnson Controls, and they are largely known for their building automation found in places like skyscrapers, and for large corporations who have a massive fleet of facilities, which makes sense why they would have such a heavy commercial focus. I don't know this to be fact, but I've been told by several people that York took a lot of designs from Rheem and incorporated it into their own equipment, which if that is the case, does kind of make sense because they do cater a lot to facility management groups. They're going to be focused on long-term serviceability along with straightforward changeouts. Their top AC system can achieve as high as 20 SEER 2, and from a cost perspective, they're going to be close to a Daikin or Rheem in both upfront cost and repair cost. They also offer a 10 years parts warranty once the equipment is registered, along with on some of their upper end systems, they will offer a lifetime compressor warranty. Now that we have a good idea on the approach that each brand takes, you're probably asking, which one of these brands are the best? So let's rank them. So let's start from the bottom. In the number 6 spot, I have York. Can you go wrong with a York? No, their equipment is actually very reliable. They have some of the best commercial and heavy industrial equipment available. However, when it comes to their residential product lines, I think that some of these other brands do a little bit better of a job for homeowners. And next up, in the 5th position, I have Rheem. And Rheem is known for their contractor-first approach, designing equipment specifically for contractors, making it easy to repair and replace systems. So if you're a contractor that is having trouble with repairs and installs, you might want to take a look at Rheem. After that, in the 4th position, I have Lennox. I know I've been critical of Lennox in the past, and that was largely due to the number of evap coil failures that they were going through. And homeowners would get so frustrated to the point where we would actually change out their entire system that was less than 10 years old. And every year that goes by, we're actually seeing less and less of this. And if I'm going to do my best to be unbiased, their new equipment do not have these problems. You are going to be paying a premium for these systems, however they are high quality. So if you're interested in a system that's super energy efficient or something that comes with all the bells and whistles, you might want to add Lennox to your list to look into. Next up in the 3rd spot is Daikin. They're very reliable and cost-effective systems. However, I think they're a little behind Carrier and Trane on design and engineering. So if you're looking for a system that has competitive pricing and a long factory warranty, you might want to add Daikin to your list. And next up we have Carrier and Trane, and these two brands are constantly competing against each other for the top spot in quality HVAC systems. And the best thing about these two brands is their product suite, because essentially, no matter what you buy, it's going to be a good quality product. So if you're looking for a high quality single stage system, they have it. If you're looking for a high quality 2-stage system, they have it. If you're looking for a high quality communicating system, they have it. You just simply can't go wrong with them. However, at this time, I do think that Carrier's product lines are slightly better designed and engineered, along with a little more competitive pricing. So I'm going to put Carrier in the number 1 spot and Trane in the number 2 spot. If you found this video to be interesting, please hit the like button, and that'll really help me out with the YouTube algorithms. We also have free buyer's guides and price lists that you might want to check out. Until next time, have a good one.